All right, Collector's Maze World, we are here with the one and only Tim Kitzrow. How you doing today, Tim?
Well, it's nice to be here in person and out of my. I feel like a homeless guy. I've had COVID for the last 3 or 4 days, and so I'm a little raggedy, a little scruffy. Should be down at the soup kitchen the way I look and the way I feel. But always good to talk to folks that have some fond remembrances of NBA Jam, NFL Blitz, and all the other games I was lucky enough to be involved with. So
Awesome.
nice to be here.
Awesome. So we'll just jump right into it. How in the world did you get into this awesome announcement gig? How did this occur?
Had to pay somebody. Had to pay somebody. Back door at Midway Games just gave a guy with $50. No, I just happened to be kind of the old right story or right place, right time thing, where I was looking for acting work in Chicago. Had come out here in '87 from upstate New York. Um, and in doing so, you're doing the commercial route with an agent, and going with 20 guys for a Budweiser beer commercial or a men in deodorant ad. Tootsie. I don't know if you remember Tootsie, like going out for the acting auditions all the time and the commercials. Yeah. It's very degrading. There's a bunch of people in the room, and you're all most of you are real actors also, but you're trying to get these gigs. And I was like, I thought this was going to be a much more interesting life. So I'm still doing it. I'm waiting tables, of course, like everybody else is trying to make the gig. And I decided to not give up on my other passion in life. When I was in high school, I was like, I'm going to be a rock and roll drummer in a rock and roll band. I'm going to be a rock star, okay. Or an actor, a famous actor. I'm going to be a rock star or a drummer.
There you go.
I was like 4 years old. I'm going to be a fireman. I'm going to be, So that's what it was going to be. So I bought this set of drums, and I held on to that set of drums through moves, through California, through college, through bands in upstate New York, and brought those drums out here in $100 Volkswagen car in the middle of winter. And I said, I'm going to still play these damn drums because they're the one thing that never let me down. The acting world turned into, when you're in high school, you just fall in love with the plays and the people, and you go on. It's always just a great experience. That's why so many young people get hooked. It's your social group, and you have people that have creative minds, like-minded, and then it gets to the professional level of like having to get the gig, and then you're just back in the Shark Tank, as I said, going out for these weird commercials and things. So it wasn't that much fun anymore. And I attended Second City, where 5-week training program, you do your show and try to get into the touring company. And once again, I had more fun. I think I had an improv group in upstate New York of my own. I had more fun doing that because there were no rules, and it was people that I loved and trusted. And you get on the stage with all these people that auditioned to get into the Second City program, and there were a lot of them, quite frankly, that just weren't that good. And you get out on stage, and they go, "You got to trust your partner. You got to trust your partner. I don't trust this guy for nothing. I don't trust him with a dime of mine." You go, "Well, you got to make him look good." It's like, look, we're going down. This the Titanic has hit the iceberg. We're going down. And so then you break every bad rule, and you start to put on a show. And improv is really all about listening and communicating with your partner. So what I'm doing here is I'm telling a long story because I've had the flu and cold and the fever, is that I was not having a whole lot of fun doing what I thought was going to be a lot of fun. So those damn drums of mine, Rogers, vintage 1974 Rogers set that I spent $457 on, I said, I'm going to play in a band every weekend. And I had a couple good friends that I met through some people in the restaurant business. As it turns out, one of the guys in the band, his day job was working out at Williams doing music, script writing, and the sound guy for the pinball games.
Okay.
And his name is Chris Granner. And he said, they're looking for someone, or we're looking for someone. I think it was John Hay, who ended up doing the original music for NBA Jam, to do a Mr. Howell for a Gilligan's Island pinball game. And you're pretty fun. You go to Second City. I go, "Oh, Gilligan, maybe we could bribe Kona. Lovey." And that was it. And they go, "Well, that's good enough." So I got in there, and they said $50 an hour. I go, $50 an hour? Are you kidding me? $50 an hour. So I was, it's like more than happy, obviously, to do that. And then they said, "Hey, can you do Rod Serling?" It's like, you're traveling through another dimension, a dimension not only of sight, a dimension of sound. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone. and got that. And then, can you do Popeye? Well, blow me down. It's the sea hag. So one after another. Suddenly I was back on the case. That's who done it. I end up with like 10, 15 pinball titles, just becoming the regular guy while I'm playing my drums on the weekend going, this is a blast.
Yeah.
You know, what I just made in 3 hours, you know, so I have to spend the night, you know, waiting tables. But I was still not thinking of it as this is a career. This is just a fun side gig. It's got some side money. And then 92, John Hayes says, Mark Trammell just had this big hit called Smash TV, and he's you know, he's in the building where the big boys are across the street. We're actually in the pinball factory that has a little back cave. It's like a depressed student dorm in the back, no windows, and there were like 5 guys in the sound department, all smoking packs of cigarettes a day. Little fluorescent lighting and a meat locker size audio booth. But Mark Trammell across the street with the big guys and Ed Boon, Mortal Kombat. He's working on an NBA game, and I think you'd be good for it. You know, we like what you do here. So as I found out, they didn't go to anyone else. They didn't audition anyone else. They didn't, you know, and they were, you know, Chicago, and Williams would go out to agencies. They would look for people. And as I found out later, they went looking for someone to do Rod Serling actually before they offered it to me. They couldn't find anyone. So here I am with probably the job that over the years everybody said is like the most incredible job. And first question is, you said, how the hell did you get this gig? You know, that's the question. And how did I get it? And the fact that Mark, after all these years, you know, we're still in touch and working on some stuff together, said, I can't believe, like, you know, this is one of the biggest games ever, and you just like handed it to me. And it wasn't even direct from Mark. Mark just took John Hayes' advice. As I said, John Hayes, the guy who produced NBA Jam as far as all the sound, the music, wrote the music, and he just said, hey, you want it, basically. It's like, yeah. So, man, you know, all these years later, I can't believe that I was at the right place, the right time. Of course, I got the goods. You know, I love basketball. I was able to mimic those, you know, characters for the pinball. It's part of acting, you know. So it wasn't like it was luck, just like luck. And then I just, you know, did have to pay someone, whatever. I had the skills, fortunately, and once NBA Jam was done, it went on to Blitz. Then I really started kind of develop my own style, my brash, you know, sarcastic, whatever, because it was, you know, it was explained and pretty obvious to me that this is not real football. It's not like the sim games that, of course, we didn't even know about sim games back then. It's just crazy, over the top, midway, take someone's head off, have some fun doing it, you know. So that's how it started, and then I went on to do Slugfest and NHL Hitz and Gretzky 3D hockey. So yeah,
awesome. So you know what else I gotta ask? If you know, where
how did BOOMSHAKALAKA come from?
Took the words right out of my mouth. Where in the world did that? Because I know it was complete. It had to be completely, because you said improv. It had to be completely improv, and that was this iconic statement that everybody makes everywhere. Like I see it everywhere.
I need a better story. You know, early on, my son said, just lie, just tell everybody you made it up, because it's going to be worth a lot of money, and I'm an idiot. I told the truth. And the truth is kind of boring, but it's still very cool. It was a random act of the gaming gods, mana from heaven. We were in the booth one day, and John Carlton, another sound guy down the hall, had the headphones on, listening to Sly and the Family Stone. And for you youngsters out there who don't know who Sly is, check him out. You'll be glad that, if no other reason you tuned in tonight, you learned about Sly Stone. So his famous song, one of his many, was "I Want to Take You Higher," and in the chorus it goes, "I want to take you higher, boo shakalaka, boo shakalaka, bow now now."
Now it literally just clicks for me there.
It's like, but it's saying boo shakalaka, not boom, boo shakalaka, boo shakalaka. It's also in stripes, and you know, whatever. Just go check it out. But anyway, so that's in this guy's head, John Carlton. So he literally like leans back out the door and he goes, "Hey John, tell Tim to say boom shakalaka." He might have said boo shakalaka. John heard it as boom shakalaka. I'm in there with my yellow legal pad or whatever they got in front of me, but with my 20 lines, and I hear, "Hey Tim, say boom shakalaka." What the hell, boom shakalaka? John, he goes, "I don't know. John told me to tell you just say it. Go, boom shakalaka." All right, what's next? He's heating up. Okay. He's heating up. That's it. How about that?
Still, that That's still a cool story. It's not maybe
It
not
is
as
a
cool
cool
as it could
story.
be, but it's still a
No,
very cool story.
no, the fact that something so iconic was so in random,
Yes.
and it makes total sense. Like, the genius of it behind it's like one of those accidents. It's onomatopoeia. I mean, if you're taking a test right now, kids listen to this and they want to know what onomatopoeia is. Boom, shakalaka. It sounds like what it is. You hit that rim, boom, the rim shakes, shakalaka.
There it is. Makes too much sense.
And that's it. And so here from Sly and Family Stone, who also happens to be one of my favorite all-time musicians, and when I play the drums, I often play to Sly and Family Stone. So there's a kind of nice tie.
Yeah, it ties all together. Nice little bow on it, right?
Yep.
So NBA Jam set you up for Blitz, and basically they were like, okay, we're gonna throw you in every sports game we're making, right?
Yeah, but I mean, how does that happen? I still don't know the inside stories. I should ask Sal and Mark sometimes. It was odd because you would think that they would, oh, we're going to need a different voice for NFL, or we want to, make sure there's a different sound for baseball or whatever. But the weird thing was I didn't feel like I was really in the loop with the whole company.
Okay.
I felt like a lot of the people out there thought I was like, the hired gun, wasn't really part of the team because I'm a, contract player, an hourly guy. And I remember like coming to a couple meetings, like for a Slugfest or on things where they had all the teams. It was like their monthly meeting, but for all the games, they were talking about that. I wanted to be involved. I'd like raise my hand, like talk about marketing ideas. I just remember getting these looks like, who in the is this guy think he is? Coming in here, shooting his mouth off about what we should do or how it should be marketed or promoted. I wanted to go to the Slugfest E3 show, which would have been around 2000, and just mentioned to some of the guys out there, hey, I'd like to go. I was like, yeah, well, it's like, but you're not.
That's crazy.
And then I went, my son said, you need to make things happen, like go out and meet people, go to E3. So I went out there on my own dime. I show up and I come by the booth, and I have a lot of good friends still to this day. Love my guys at Midway, but they're a handful, like in any business, that I don't remember. And thankfully that they're just faceless kind of people, because I show up out there and a few people like basically like, the hell are you doing here? Hey, just came out to the show and thought I'd stop by. And like, oh, hey, man, why don't you talk to fans? People love you. Tell them about NBA Jam or whatever. There was none of that. A little bit later, we're going up the stairway. There's like 8 or 10 of the big shots going up there, like talking, hey, where are we going for dinner? And, let's go to the steakhouse or whatever. I'm right behind. It was like I was this nerd in high school, and there was the popular kids, they were, leaving their popular lunch table, and I'm just behind them like, do you think I could come out for dinner with you guys? I was watching that game called NBA Jam, and real popular. I never got the invite. I came out here on my own dime, and I'm staying in a cheap little ghetto that I didn't even have a credit card. I had to call my brother in Albany to put down $40 for the motel. And you guys are walking around like you're the stars of the football team, and I'm the towel boy. That's what it was like, man.
That's crazy to think about, because like now it's like you're the person everybody wants to talk to. Like,
yeah. Hey, they remember you. Like, that's me. My revenge story, like Tarantino's, like all those guys that were like, the faceless guys that were the big shots.
Yeah.
And the one other, and I don't want to, it's like, I'm trying to tell this in a humorous way, that it's part of the gig. I was just a young guy starting out, whatever. These guys were their, pros, and there was never such thing as a guy like me before in the industry.
True.
They didn't know. They had no perspective on like where I would be 5, 10, 20 years down the road. But they did know they had a big hit on their hands, and I was the voice in it. But I wasn't anything more than just a guy who made $50 an hour. But there was one guy in particular that when I was doing another one of the games, he decided he was going to start to, be the boss and say, I said, hey, I couldn't hear you talking about the last thing we just did on the headset. He's out there, and he goes, yeah, if we wanted you to hear, we'd turn it on. It was like cold. He goes, I'm the director here, only one voice, and it's like just nonsense, and this guy, this is when we were doing comedy stuff. I'm writing all the scripts, and I'm coming in with the ideas and doing the improv, and whatever. And this guy wanted to take over. It's like, did you go to Second City? Did you act your whole life? No, you went to some half-ass music school and you can't even do that well. This is my Quentin Tarantino night. It's like all those years later, it's like come up like, yeah, so where are you 30 years later?
Exactly.
Putting together, I don't know. As I said, I'm trying to have fun with it, but it still bugs me when I think of it after COVID and I've had the flu and my mind's like I've had COVID nightmares the last few nights. But something like that, I was having so much fun and I wanted to be so much a part of the team. But what makes me happy, the guys who are the team, like Sal DeVita, Mark Trammell, John Hay, Chris Granter, all my first guys, best guys in the world. And guess what? They're all doing well, So,
and they earned it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, they earned it. Yeah.
So, tell me about a couple of things people may not know about. I know NHL Hitz is kind of a rarer game people don't know about, but there's another one that you had a lot of fun with. I think was it Mutant Football League?
Mutant Football League.
Tell me about that.
But it's the remake of the '93 Sega Classic. Michael Mendheim, Digital Dreams. This is a game that came out, I guess, right around the same time as NBA Jam. He went on to work at EA Sports. EA Sports held the title for Mutant League Football. And about 5, 6, 7 years ago, I forget how many years ago now, he left EA, started Digital Dreams, creative director, and he was able to redo the game by just switching the title to Mutant Football League, MFL instead of Mutant League Football. But it is the same creator. And he said, hey, man, you are the guy. Thank God. He goes like, I need a voice for this crazy world I've designed. And he lives in Chicago, and we got together and we just started laughing from day one. So you told me when we talked right before I got on that you have been playing and watching the trailer and everything. It's you don't even have to play it. To me, it's so much fun to look at and listen. It has all the eye candy and bells and whistles. It's just a crazy world. It's like it should be Adult Swim, and that there's actually been some talk about a cartoon. The original one in '93 did have a Saturday morning cartoon.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, it's this crazy post-apocalyptic world. It's not so much different than like Futurama meets whatever Rick and Morty or something. Just crazy.
Exactly,
And the characters I was able to create, Grim Blitzrow and Bricken Morgan and Bricks Jr. We just have a great time, and to be given the opportunity to help shape the world, the tone of the comedy and of the what I love about it, even with all the crazy stuff we have, the crazy humor and some of the crazy voices that I do. Grim Blitzrow still calls a straight game, like for the most part, like you're playing football. It plays like Madden, Blitz, whatever. It's still. But it has dirty tricks and all these other things. There are buzzsaws that come across the field, Randy. You can pull out a shotgun, and Tom Brady or Bomb Shady, because everybody has nailed it. Yep. Bomb Shady pulls out a shotgun and blows his defender's face off. Talk about the shotgun formation. And Brady and Bomb Shady just took one to the lunch pail. Oh, man, that's got to hurt. Well, we all know that Bomb Shady likes to play with deflated balls, but he'll be playing with flat balls the rest of his life.
There it is.
Something like that. But yeah, it's a fun one, and it's my most recent title, and we're working on a new version right now. There's a Dynasty Edition version as well. But check out some of the clips on YouTube if you guys are interested. You'll see that you will not be able to keep your hands off this game once you see it.
Anything Tim Kitzrow on YouTube is absolute gold. Make sure you guys literally just type his name in the search bar and just click on everything. It's all gold. It's all gold.
Yeah, speaking of that, that's the other thing, and I'm glad that the stuff has showed up on YouTube. Is I started working with some NBA teams a few years back that came through doing the relaunch of NBA Jam on EA Sports. We did what was the ESPN show, the Sports Nation with Colin Cowherd. So I went out there, did some live calls. Colin and Michelle, we made them secret characters in the game. Producer liked me, so he hooked me up with one of the late night shows called ESPN Unite. It was kind of like for college and frat boys, lasted about a year, but it gave me an opportunity to do. They threw me some highlights, so I did top 10 dunk list 2013, and then a guy in the Houston Rockets saw that, so he hired me to do highlights for the Rockets. And then after that, it just kind of ping ponged, and I started to do, I think, 5 or 6 different teams, including 2 years working with the Warriors, Golden State Warriors. As they won their titles, I would do a roundup for each series playoff and finals round. So you can find that all on YouTube as well.
Absolute gold. Love all of that. So you said that you're working on this newer version of the Mutant Football League. Is there anything else you're working on?
I am. And unfortunately, it's one of those weird things like when people aren't talking to, well, I can't tell you about this. Like, well, shut the hell up. Why did you come on? But I do, fortunately.
Whatever you can talk about, obviously.
Yeah, but post-COVID, there are some very exciting things in the works, and maybe be able to reveal them by the time of the show in October.
Yep.
When I'm out there. So keep your ears tuned. But yeah, it's been an exciting year. A lot of writing, a lot of new projects.
Awesome.
Want to hear a line from one of the NBA? I'm telling these guys about the stuff I did with the NBA team. So here's one. So Harden's coming down the court, and he's doing his usual, slice and dice. This is a limited time TV offer. It slices, it dices, it dunks in your face. And announcing the amazing Hardenizer. Beer sold separately. Call now while throwing this free dagger at the buzzer. Boom shakalaka. Now with MVP strength. Another one, he's coming down. He's got Rubio so rocked back on his heels. Rubio just falls back. He's lying on the wood like a crab. So I told the guys in digital, I said, do a twister mat there. So I go, hey, Rubio, how about a little game of twister? Right foot red, left foot green. How about my hot hand in your red face? Kaboom!
That's great. Yeah. Oh, man.
I mean, to see Rubio on a twister mat, left foot green, red foot blue, my hot hand in your red face. Now, this is the reason I love to tell these things, or the stories about, like, working with the NBA teams, is to go from being a guy who was just hired to say a handful of things, which was what NBA Jam was. NBA Jam was basically, we were trying to capture the feel of NBA Game of the Week. We didn't know it was a arcadey, kind of game. It was just a basketball game that ended up with these silly things like the fire and the crazy dunks, because during meetings at lunch, the guys were like, there was an accident, like, he was, someone who was working, it's like, the guy was like up over the rim, but someone started laughing. That's funny. We should do that. It's like, no, we shouldn't. It looks fake. This isn't a goddamn circus. The fire thing, like, both of those things were huge arguments. Yeah. Like, no, this needs to be realistic. But in the end, I think, Mark Trammell, he did have that spin to make things frenetic and crazy. Whether or not we would have gotten the crazy high dunks, the fire, I'm not sure. They seem to be kind of serendipitous, like accidents. But anyway, we were basically just capturing the Marv Albert, because he was the voice of the NBA for the most part. Sunday, it's the Knicks, it's the Bulls, it's the Lakers, it's the same teams all the time, which is another great side story. What you realize, we just distilled down that. So John Hay, this was the first game I did. So he wrote the script. He came in, he goes, I just sat there, watched TV all weekend and put down, he's heating up. That's Marv Albert. He's on fire. Marv Albert, wide open, just generic, phrases. I made it my own, obviously did what I could as an actor, but it wasn't until I got to, Blitz, Slugfest, the EA Sports version, where I started to write my own lines and treated it a little bit like I said, an Adult Swim show. Or
I loved Blitz. Your Blitz calls were amazing.
It started to get the crazy lines, but the idea, once again, is we start out just doing basically a generic rehash of dialogue that you would hear from NBA Game of the Week. But all these years later, the first thing is, those games that were happening back then, if you live anywhere else in the world except Chicago, LA, New York, whatever, you didn't really get your team. And if you were in those cities, you didn't know about the Mavericks or these guys or the Golden State Warriors or whatever. The point being, you were very limited to what your exposure to the NBA and its players were. Yeah. And then if you're in other parts of the world, back then, I mean, the playoffs and the finals, I think up until mid-late 80s, were still being like tape delayed in lots of places. You weren't getting it live. It wasn't like, it wasn't, prime time. So suddenly, and I've had so many letters and people tell me from around the world, they fell in love with the NBA because of NBA Jam. They didn't even get NBA telecasts.
That's literally hate basketball. Love NBA Jam.
Russell Wilson, he wrote an article, did a piece a couple years ago called BOOMSHAKALAKA, and it was about how he's trying to bring back the Supersonics to with some of his buddies out there, Ken Griffey and Gary Payton, whatever. But he talked about how he fell in love with basketball. He said, people think it's football. No, he goes, I fell in love because of NBA Jam. Lived in, I believe it was North Carolina. He said, my brother and I, saw the arcade coming home from school, whatever. We ended up getting our own home version. He goes, but there was something about NBA Jam where we in the screen select, you're searching the teams. They had no idea who these teams were.
Mm-hmm.
They go, we love the Seattle Supersonics jersey.
Yeah.
And how ironic he ends up playing in Seattle. You're trying to bring that back. He goes, I played every single day with my brother as a Supersonic. And that's how I fell in love with the NBA, my first sport. That's a story that just goes everywhere. NBA Jam was really an important part of growing the NBA fan base.
Oh, yeah.
As I said, finding jerseys, teams, players that no one would have known about before. And then the other thing was, I was going back to how simple it was starting out in that little back room factory, what we were doing and why it's still being talked about all these years later. The slow, build is now it's gone on to guys who are bringing up kids and they go, hey, check out my old school. It's like you're passing on the music, you're passing on the video games.
Yep.
But the other thing is, I go from just simply calling Marv stuff to 25, 30 years later, Golden State Warriors sending me clips from their cameras with no music, no audio, just the sounds of the sneakers. And I get to sit there and look at it and go, I can say anything I want. I can say, what does 3-time champ Steph Curry have for breakfast? Snap, crackle, pop, nice crisp threes. Make them a part of your balanced NBA diet. And what's for dinner? What's for dinner? It's fast, easy to make, and a real crowd pleaser. Curry surprise, kaboom! How do you like your curry? I like mine on fuego. It's like, once again, to be able to come up with the lines that fit the exact moment. There's one where Gobert is grabbing his jersey and he starts out doing his little dance on the outside. So I told the graphics guy for the Warrior, I said, put in a disco ball and give it a disco feel. So they put in disco ball, disco music, and I go, time to put your dancing shoes on. Give it play a little ball, like give a little tug as Gobert grabs him, get down tonight, and they're all going down for Curry. But just like that, you can have fun and create something you're not going to see on Sports Center, not going to see it on Shaqtin' the Fool, which is the only other place for entertaining look at what we always see is the same, post-game look and highlights. Yes. What I get to do through that kind of thing is put a different spin on it. And I would love it if that became a thing, with an NBA TV or Rachel Nichols or something to the roundup of the week or month, the highlights, NBA Jam styles. So I think of all the things that I want to do, that's one that I'm hoping to do because it's so much fun. And I don't want to, have to hustle every year to get into the NBA teams to do this for the Jumbotron. I want people to bring it to me, have my own little, spot in the world of entertainment for NBA, which I think there's plenty of room for.
Tons. Especially now with the 2K League. I would love to see you call a 2K League game. Have you seen that yet?
I have.
I would love to see you call a 2K League because no. These guys, the way they play and the way they get all hyped and stuff like that, you being able to just roast whoever's getting killed, yes.
That would be fun.
Absolutely.
Be fun.
Oh man, so you're post COVID, you're getting some new stuff going on. Where are you going to be? What you said you're going to be 8 different places this year. What's the travel schedule look like? I know you're going to be everywhere.
Well, so I'm not sure who tunes into these shows these days. They're just gamers in general. But I was telling you before, I didn't even know there were so many shows up until Mutant Football League, where Michael asked me to do some promotions for the game. He said, hey, let's go up to Milwaukee. There's a convention. It's called the Midwest Gaming Classic. Well, this is cool. Yeah. Holy shit, they got all these games. Hey, I should do this. It's I didn't know, but no one told me. I didn't know this stuff existed. So after that, Dan Lucen from Midwest Gaming Classic, hey man, why don't you come back on your own, even when you're not, promoting Mutant Football League. So I did what the other guys do. I got a banner, got some 8x10s, and got some other stuff to go and have fun with. And then COVID kind of shut everything down just as I was getting going. And the biggest and nicest gift of the whole show thing was I got to finally meet the Mortal Kombat All-Stars, Dan Pacino, Rich DeVizio, Anthony Marquette, the Doctor, Paul Niemeyer, the artist, and we have become a fast and furious friendship cult that and we wreak havoc at any show we go to, but we always make sure that we are the Midway Monsters. We sit together and we just have a party. And if you haven't been to any show before, find one, anyone. Yeah.
come to the it blurred it out, but there's a logo right down here. You can see
Yeah.
it. The Level Up ICT Con. The Midway Monsters will be there.
Yeah.
You gotta wait a little bit because we're announcing the guests as we go. You gotta wait a little bit to see who all is coming. I'll let you know. I'll let you know who else is coming.
Yeah,
later.
and that's going to be a huge blow up party for MK for
Yep.
their 30th, and hopefully in the coming year it's going to be NBA Jam's 30th because we came just after them.
Yep.
But I mean the party that ensues, when it's like this little like rock star tour because there are so many rock stars, Brian Cullen, Rampage and a billion other games, all these people that we've met in the Midway crowd.
Yep.
It's not only all day long, it's like it's party at the bars and the after party and panels and just so much fun. So yeah, the COVID shut everything down, and then coming back, I went right back to Midwest Gaming Classic, and this year I think I'm doing shows in Atlanta, Austin. I did Florida Free Play.
Okay.
Bloomington and all in all there's 8. My brain's scrambled right now, but just look around, and if you follow me on social media, I'll try to get the word out a month ahead of time at least for the different shows. So.
And we'll be linking all of his social media down below below the interview. Also, the VIP part, I'm telling you right now, I went and checked out the venue about a week ago just to kind of lock down the menu and see what we're doing. Get ready. You talk about a party.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be great.
Let me show you something too as I stand up here. A good thing I wear my pants for this Zoom party. Another fun thing, I got a call from the folks at Michelob Ultra, and they wanted to do an all-star party in Cleveland and wanted me to host. And they decided it was going to be an NBA Jam themed party. And they did a 72-hour turnaround makeover of a bar across from the stadium and called it BOOMSHAKALAKAs. And they brought about 30 one-up arcade cabinets up there. They had Clyde Drexler, James Worthy, Dominic Wilkins, and Dikembe Mutombo there.
Wow.
And I'm emceeing the first night. They had Jazzy Jeff, DJ Jazzy Jeff, and Fat Joe. And here I am all these years later, like hosting an all-star party. And they didn't tell me to the night before, in addition to what you're doing, you're going to be on stage interviewing Worthy and Drexler together on Saturday and Mutombo and Wilkins on Sunday. And it was a dream of a lifetime, and I get up there. When they came in the house, I saw them, they were signing downstairs for a while. So I had the mic upstairs. And I was just playing as they came in, it's like, Mutombo from the University of No-No-No's in the house. Nice. Oh, I love it when you call me Big Blocker. Like my wife always says, not tonight. Kaboom. And Worthy, the same thing. Like, James Worthy can't go to work without his coffee and donuts. You bring the coffee, and he'll bring the Dunkin'. James Worthy, boom shakalaka.
Nice.
Wilkins in the house, and he just got his MBA degree from Dunkin' on You. Move over, Jabbar. So here I am, like doing all kinds of like hype man stuff while they're downstairs. They come up, they're in the wings, and I do the same kind of thing. Bring them on stage. We sit down. And I get to just have this, like, be 10 years old again because I grew up watching those guys. I fell in love with Worthy, especially in the Lakers. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out, just like the magic of NBA Jam. I sit there on stage 28, 29 years later doing that. And here is a copy of this book called NBA Jam, the book. And on that cover are the autographs of all those cool guys.
That's amazing.
And they made a comic book of those guys. Nice. And they signed it, and then we made or Michelob Ultra made a digitized animation, like 3-minute little bit with those guys finishing up an NBA Jam game and going, hey, where we go next? Like, let's go to Boom Shakalakas. And they go in there, they're throwing darts, and I'm like, razzle dazzle, and the voice. It was just like this surreal kind of like dreamlike moment. And then they had all their own custom-made cans. I don't know if you can see that. They had all the sayings, Boom Shakalaka from downtown, He's on fire, with the Michelob Ultra NBA Jam logo. So, I mean, this thing is the craziest thing because, I mean, how many thousands and thousands of video games have been made? And I ended up being in the right city, the right company, the right minds. And how many games have come and gone. It's nice you may see them at a show, and every game has a sweet spot for somebody. But the fact that this one was the King Daddy, I thank my lucky stars every day that, this was the one. And it's not this one way in the back. When you're going to the shows, you're looking for old games. You're like going the way back. It's like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that game.
Right.
It's
No, it's like, ooh, better put that in the pocket.
It's NBA Jam and it's NFL Blitz. Oh, that's pretty good. Oh, and Wayne Gretzky. Oh, and NHL. Oh, and I mean, I'm a lucky guy, man.
Man, I have to say I'm impressed. You're the only person I've ever There's one name in all of NFL that I had the most trouble with. It wasn't TJ Hashimzada. It was Biaka, and the only reason I could say it is because of you.
Biaka.
Yeah.
Biaka.
Yeah.
Oh, he just ripped his hand off.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just his helmet. What was that? The play was it just a couple of years ago in Philadelphia? Someone took the helmet off and just.
Oh yeah, Miles Garrett. Yeah, Miles Garrett took it off and hit Mason Rudolph. That'd have been that call.
Someone should have. Someone should have done a rip of Blitz. And put that in. You're like, oh, he just took his head off. Yeah. No, it's just his helmet. You hate to see that kind of thing, but let's see it again, Arnie, just for the helmet.
Exactly.
And that was totally unnecessary. But a whole lot of fun to watch. Let's see that one again, Arnie.
All right, Mr. Kitzrow, Tim, it's been an absolute delight. Thank you so much for your time. What's one thing for aspiring voice actors, anybody trying to get into the gaming industry, what's one thing you would tell them?
Drink as much beer as you can at the conventions and make as many friends as you can, because that's really the payoff. The voiceover thing for me, as I said, it was an accident. If I just went into pursuing voiceover, or specifically saying I'm going to pursue animation and or video games, God, I don't know if I would have, it's just such a needle in a haystack. But I don't want to discourage anyone who wants to do it, because people do it. But one of the things is you got to have just such a love for it. If you love cartoons, watching, Cartoon Network, that was always a favorite thing of mine. Looney Tunes when I grew up. So playing with voices is a thing that's always been part of me. But now everybody has so much, technology available. We had a cassette recorder when you were a kid. Now you can have, this, inexpensive Bluetooth microphone, your computer, whatever. You can go at it. You can create your own stuff and your own files and see if you're any good, and then, send off to talent agencies, voiceover agencies. If you get, find video games that will allow solicitation. God bless you if you can do it. It's one of the greatest gigs in the world.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, and
nice
we look forward to seeing you at Level Up ICT Con.
Level Up is on fire. Boom shakalaka.
Thanks again, Tim.
Nice to talk with you, Brandon.
Excellent.